Let me ask you something that most women never admit out loud. Are you tired of being your husband's only friend, only emotional outlet, and only source of connection? If you've ever said he has no hobbies, no friends, and I am his entire world, then you're not alone. This video is for you, not to judge your marriage, but to give language to a loneliness you've been carrying in silence. When love turns into emotional labor, being married shouldn't feel like being someone's life support system. But when your husband has no friendships, no passions, no community, you end up doing the emotional work of an entire village. You don't just love him, you keep him afloat. And that weight, it slowly drains the parts of you that once felt light. The unspoken burden you carry. Most women in your position don't complain because it feels cruel to say, he's not a bad man, he's just empty without me. But emotional exhaustion doesn't require cruelty. It happens quietly, in long conversations where you listen but never receive, in weekends where you plan everything, in evenings where he waits for you to entertain his loneliness. This isn't partnership, it's emotional parenthood. Why men without friends lean too hard? Many men grow up believing their wife should be their everything. Romance movies taught them that, society reinforced it, but no one tells them that using one person for all emotional needs eventually pushes that person away. Not because you don't love him, but because no human can hold that much weight alone. The slow disappearance of your own life. The hardest part isn't his loneliness, it's the way his loneliness slowly erases your own independence. Your hobbies fade, your friendships weaken, your space shrinks, your emotional energy gets rerouted to keep the marriage standing. One day you look at your life and realize, I'm taking care of him, but who is taking care of me? Why this creates resentment even in loving marriages. You don't resent him, you resent the setup. You resent having to be the planner, motivator, social coordinator, and emotional regulator every day. Resentment is what happens when love and responsibility get tangled so tightly that your needs disappear. The guilt almost every woman feels. And here's the most painful part. Women in your position often feel guilty for even thinking about these feelings. You say things like, he's a good guy, he doesn't cheat, he doesn't abuse me, so why do I feel so trapped? This is the same guilt we talked about in your other video, feeling guilty about wanting a divorce. Because sometimes the hardest marriages to leave are the ones that look perfectly fine from the outside. The emotional isolation you never expected. When you're the only social life your husband has, you lose the ability to express your own pain. Why? Because he doesn't have anyone else to lean on, so your needs feel like a burden. You end up comforting the person who's wearing you down. And that creates a kind of silent isolation that no one else sees. Understanding the root. It's not always his fault. Sometimes his lack of hobbies or friendships comes from social anxiety, childhood bullying, emotional neglect, depression, never being taught how to build male friendships. Understanding the root doesn't excuse everything, but it does explain why so many husbands unintentionally depend entirely on their wives for human connection. Why you can't fix this for him. You can support him, you can encourage him, but you cannot become his entire emotional universe. Your partner has to build his own identity, friendships, routines, and interests. If you keep filling every empty space for him, he'll never learn to fill them himself. the tipping point in most marriages like this. There comes a moment, a small one, that breaks you. Maybe it's the night he asks, "What are we doing this weekend?" for the 100th time. And you realize he means you will plan it. Maybe it's when he says he's lonely and your last drop of empathy spills out. That tipping point doesn't happen because you stopped loving him. It happens because you stopped having space to love yourself. How to talk about this without destroying him? This conversation takes courage, but here is a gentle way to start. I love being close to you, but I can't be your only source of connection. You deserve friendships and interests that make your life fuller, and I need space to be a whole person too. This isn't an attack, it's an invitation. Encouraging him to build his own life. Think of this as helping him expand, not detach. You can suggest joining hobby groups, reconnecting with old friends, taking classes, going to therapy, volunteering, joining sports or community programs. Not because you want space from him, but because you want space for both of you. Rebuilding the two lives that meet in the middle. Healthy relationships are made of two full lives that meet in the middle, not one life merged into another. The healthiest marriages have your friendships, his friendships, your hobbies, his hobbies, and a shared life that benefits from both. What happens if nothing changes? If you remain his only outlet, your resentment grows, your emotional exhaustion deepens, your attraction may fade, your patience erodes. Love becomes caretaking, and caretaking is not partnership. This is why so many good man marriages fall apart, not because of cruelty, but because of imbalance. Reclaiming your identity without guilt. You are allowed to reconnect with yourself. You're allowed to go out with friends. You're allowed to have hobbies. You're allowed to have a life outside your husband. This isn't betrayal. It's emotional self-protection. When you start thriving, he might too. Here's something surprising. When you reclaim your identity, many husbands start building one too. They follow your lead. They grow because you grew. Sometimes your evolution becomes the permission they needed. If you're considering leaving, this is the chapter no one wants to talk about, but many women quietly reach. If you're thinking about separation or divorce, remember what we said in your earlier video. Leaving isn't selfish when staying destroys you. If this marriage asks you to shrink, dim, and disappear, then wanting more is not cruelty. It's survival. A vision of a balanced relationship. Imagine a relationship where he has friends, he has passions, he has a life he's proud of, and you have space to breathe, grow, and reconnect with your joy. This isn't a fantasy. It's what partnership should feel like. Two whole people choosing each other, not clinging out of loneliness. And in the comments, if you feel safe, share your experience. Not for pity, but because your story might be the exact validation another woman desperately needs tonight.